Welcome back to my channel. This is my model Jasmine, and if you want to know how I created this look on her, then just keep watching. To begin, I started by clipping her hair back just so I can have access to the complete canvas without having anything in the way. And then I primed her skin with the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer, and I rubbed that into her skin with my fingers, excluding her eyelids. She has normal to dry skin, so this primer works perfect for her, and you can almost see if you pay close attention exactly how the primer is blurring out her pores and creating a smooth canvas for me to work with. After I had that worked into her skin, I did set her brows with some translucent powder just to keep her eyebrows from getting shiny throughout the night. If this ever happens to you when you have on makeup, definitely try this hack, I guess you can call it, because that'll definitely solve the problem. And I'm going to be shaping her eyebrows with the NYX Brow Powder Duo in Espresso. Before I started outlining the bottom of her brows, I did make sure to brush her eyebrows upwards just so I can really see exactly where I want to start outlining her brows at. And as you can see, I'm not creating a shape for her. I'm really just following the shape that she already has, not thickening her eyebrow too much. I'm just making it a little bit more defined than what it already was. And I don't like to conceal the top of the brows because I like brows to look as natural as possible. So you'll see how I keep that line at the top as clean and as straight as possible to really be able to help me in not having to conceal it. So I didn't fill in her eyebrows that much because she has pretty thick brows, but I did fill in the very beginning where I elongated her eyebrows at, because I like when eyebrows kind of like start close together, not giving her a unibrow or anything, but I just like when eyebrows start exactly where your nose contour would start. So in the front of her eyebrows, I did do upward strokes in order to fill that part in, and I did not really fill in the tail that much because, like I said, she already has very thick brows. And after I filled it into my liking, I did make sure to go back with my spoolie to brush in between the hairs just to diffuse the harsh lines that I may have created. And then I went and I did the same thing to the other brow. I know you guys can't really tell, but I'm really using a light hand when I fill in her eyebrows. If you want more natural eyebrows, do not neglect the spoolie on your eyebrow pencil and use a very, very light hand when you're outlining your eyebrows and when you're filling it in. And if you're watching this right now, I just want you guys to go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, because I'm dropping gems for anybody who wants to be a makeup artist, for anybody who just likes makeup. Like this video, comment, and subscribe. To clean up the bottom of her brows, I did use the LA Girl Pro Concealer in medium beige. And I think when I'm like concealing brows at the bottom, I don't even think I breathe because you have to be so careful with this part. But in the front of her brows, I used a back and forth dragging motion to make sure I get that as straight as possible. And then I do the arch with one stroke, just going one stroke following the outline that I already created. And then I conceal the rest of her eyes. So I smoothen out that concealer that I just placed directly under her brow, and then I add some more concealer to cover her entire lid to prep for eyeshadow. And after I have the concealer covering the whole lid, I do go ahead and blend that out with a dense brush. If you're a perfectionist like me, eyebrows, like, you'll take your time on your eyebrows to make sure that everything's right. I know a lot of people say that eyebrows are not twins, which they don't have to be, and usually they're not, but they do need to at least look like sisters. I say that all the time. So if they look like cousins, you might have to go back and do some more work. Of course, I went ahead and did the same thing on the other eyebrow. And I also want to just put this out there. Sometimes when you're concealing the eyebrows, you could kind of mess up the brow a little bit. And just go back and fix it with your pencil. Sometimes if you brush your spoolie through the part that you messed up, it'll fill it back in, so you don't have no worries with that. So before I started eyeshadow, I just pressed some more translucent powder into the concealer to make sure that everything is in place and it's not like watery or sticky or anything. I just want everything to be set and ready to go. To begin the eyeshadow, I'm using this apricot-ish color in the Nubian Juvias Place palette as her transition shade. And I'm using the Morphe Y18 brush. It's not like a fluffy blending brush, but it's not so dense that you can't blend with it. I don't know how to describe it. Look it up and you'll see what I mean, but it's perfect for getting the color directly in the crease, which is where I wanted it. And then I did go in with a fluffy blending brush to go ahead and buff that out and to smoke it out upwards towards her brow. But initially, with the color that I placed in her transition shade, I want that directly in her crease. Next, I picked up my Morphe Happy Hour palette and I dipped into the Cheers color, which is a light brown, and I have a tapered blending brush. Tapered means that the end is pointed, it's rounded, so wherever you place this color, it's gonna go exactly there. It's not so fluffy like this brush that it's gonna go everywhere. But after I popped Cheers into her crease, I went back with my fluffy brush and I went back with the apricot color from the first palette that I used to blend both of those colors together. Do you get it? Also find it easier to go back and forth between the two eyes. When you do something to one eye, you immediately go do the same thing to the other eye. So next, we're staying in the Happy Hour Morphe palette, but we're going to use the darker brown called 5 p.m. And I'm using an even smaller brush. This one is more dense. And I'm using circular motions to blend that out into the outer corner of her lid as well as into her crease. When I want to put this darker brown into her crease, I have her look straight ahead just so I can make sure that I'm putting this directly into the crease. After that, I went back in with the Cheers color with the brush that I used to put Cheers on her eye, and then I went back in with the fluffy brush that I used first with the apricot color that I used in the other palette. It's a blending game, y'all. You add a new color, you gotta go blend in the old colors with it. So here I'm having her look at me to make sure that everything is even, and it was. I love the smokiness of this. And I'm gonna add the 5 p.m. color on the inner corner of her lid using circular motions as well. And I'm also gonna go ahead and work that into her crease. And I already told you, when I work it into her crease from her lid, I have her look straight ahead just so I can really pop that into the crease where I want it. I'm doing like a halo eye, so that's why I'm adding the darker color on the inner and on the outer corner of her lid, leaving out the center. If you've been paying attention to me, you can already guess what I'm doing now. I'm going back in with Cheers into her crease since I just added 5 p.m. again, and I'm also going to go back in with the apricot color from the Nubian palette. Moving on to the Masquerade palette, I'm dipping into this gold champagne color and I'm popping that color in the center of her eyelids. That's what halo eyes are. It's dark on the outer corner, dark on the inner corner, and in the center it's like a pop of color there. And I'm just adding that color right into the center like I said. And then I'm going to use the 5 p.m. color and the small brush that I used to blend 5 p.m. in to blend out the edges of this shimmer just so everything could be nice and blended. When I was creating this look, I was picturing her going out to a nice romantic dinner. Like, I just wanted her to look romantic and dreamy. And this look is giving you very much that, right? I know, exactly, girl. So I dipped into this pigment from Ingot with my fingers, and I literally just popped that right onto that shimmer color to just add a little razzle dazzle. And I did lashes and wings liner off camera. Mix these two foundation colors to get her perfect shade, and I'm just using this small shader brush to apply the foundation to her skin before I grabbed my Instapop cheek brush to actually blend it into her skin. So when you're using foundation and you have liner on, you want to be very careful to not mess up the liner that you did. And as you can see, I'm just using patting motions to work that into her skin. I don't want to buff this in and use circular motions. I'm using a light hand. I'm not neglecting parts like under her jawline because this is going to give you a more full coverage effect. I used this Tarte creaseless concealer to highlight under her eyes, her forehead, the bridge of her nose, and her chin. And I used the wand of the concealer to really define the wing liner even more before I started blending out everything with my beauty blender. Your makeup or your client's makeup is always going to turn out best when you use a very light hand to blend everything out. And I did apply the contour shade off camera. I used the black opal stick in hazelnut. Here I'm just blending that out with a Real Techniques brush. This brush is really dense, so it's just going to help me keep the contour right where I want it, which is in the hollows of her cheeks, the bridge of her nose, well, the sides of her nose, as well as her forehead. Actually, for her nose, I did use a small tapered blending brush to blend that out using circular motions. Before I set under her eyes, I just wanted to make sure that I smoothened everything out one more time. And then I set it using my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Powder in the color of her highlight first with this tapered e.l.f. brush. And after I had that on there, I went in with my translucent powder from Laura Mercier just to reinforce that powder even more. But I did make sure to blend out the powder completely before I moved on to anything else. So you don't necessarily want to bake, you just want to set. And by using both of the powders, it's really going to make sure that the concealer is in place and it keeps under her eyes bright. After I set her concealer, I'm setting the rest of her face with a powder that matches her skin color, using circular motions to buff it in everywhere that I did not place the lighter powder. To clean up the contour and to accentuate her jawline even more, I did go ahead and use some translucent powder on my beauty blender to cut her cheeks. And I swept that away immediately because that does not have to stay there. So I swept it away using the powder that matches her skin. Before I moved on to blush, you guys know I love blush. It makes you look romantic. So I just popped that onto the higher parts of her cheeks and it just looked so good. I just added some final touches like some glow to her skin. All the product details will be in the description box. And I did go ahead and finish off her lips. I used a Morphe lip liner and a MAC lipstick with a MAC lip gloss. And I also finished the bottom of her eyes off camera because my battery was dying. But this is the final look. What do you guys think? I'd really love to know. And if you like this type of video where I show you how I do makeup on other people, let me know that as well. Also, don't forget to like this video, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.